Hello, and I would like to welcome you to another interview. Today, I have the true honor of interviewing Susan Fisher with Body of Nine. We will elaborate a little bit on Body of Nine later. It is an incredible organization. Years ago, Susan revealed to me what my superpowers were, and was able to put me into context of how to better define them. And it has been an incredibly liberating opportunity in life to use this information. But in life, I found that some of our most basic and our important precepts we easily overlook. And in my interactions with others, I've also discovered that the the most fulfilling ones are usually the ones that we leave by the wayside and get lost in our structure, in um, in our daily pursuit. They just kind of get lost in the mix. So, in this series, I'm interviewing powerful people of purpose who have been creating waves by forward momentum of pursuing what they have been called, what they have been created and structured to do. And Susan is one of these incredible individuals.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yes, of course. Susan, would you please, could you give us a very brief synopsis of Body of Nine?
Yeah, absolutely. Body of Nine is a modality and it's a context for understanding our human experience. We, through our research, have revealed that there are 9 physiologically different kinds of people. And we've developed a very simple physical process. We can either do it in person or over Zoom to tell which of the 9 kinds of bodies that you are inhabiting. And so, based off of your body structure, your face, the way you approach life, your energy signature, so many things are constantly indicating which of the 9 centers in the body is most active. That affects how you take in information, what you care about, what you're good at. Once your natural number is revealed, you can learn to activate all the centers in your body, and you can learn to be a more cosmic human, more present, more available, more in connection with others, and develop the skills that are naturally in our bodies.
It's so true. I am a natural number 2. Susan is a natural number 6. And you can find this information and so much more in this well-loved book that we have. It is The Body of Nine. They can find it where on your website is a great place.
On Amazon.com. Yeah. That's the easiest way to get it, unless you want a signed copy directly from me, but that's harder, obviously, especially if we're overseas. So
Right.
Amazon is the best way to find the book. And also, we have a lot of information on our website, bodyof9.com. That's spelled BODYOF9.com.
And today I would like to discuss a little bit more of the person, Susan, behind this forward momentum. Now it's essentially a partnership between you and your husband Martin, who have been steering the rudder of this ship. But Susan, could you describe yourself personally, your personality, your strengths? Like, what has brought you to the culmination of, this is the vessel you're moving forward?
Well, Tanya, I am in my 60s now, which I find absolutely stunningly weird. And so over the course of these, 6 decades that I have had the lucky experience to live, each one has been kind of revealed something to me in my own development. And it also has it's kind of been this progression through to knowing who I am. And I'm still doing that. I'm still learning about who I am and the power of who I am. Body of Nine is one of many, many amazing tools that are out there for gaining a deep understanding of who we are. What's unique about Body of Nine is that it's body-based, and I can give you physical things to do once you know your natural number. So for me, for example, when I found out my natural number, I learned that if I lift and expand my chest and feel what's going on, I get more present, and then the gifts of what I'm able to do come forward. The core gifts for me as a 6 are to feel what's important, to take in all the information from the community, to synthesize it, and then to move that community forward. Like, I'm not so great at making community, but being a part of a community is critical to the role that I play with others. And, for me, 2 people is a community, or 4 people is, it can be any size. But if you want to know how to move forward and what to do next, and if you're stuck, I'm a good person to go to.
Right. How long ago did you actually create the organization? I mean, you've been studying this for a long time, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is actually information that you came across and kind of like re-brought to the surface and have been putting out there for people to utilize. When did you actually form? Can you give me a little of the history of the organization? Yes. When you came across it, how, where this whole process is?
I found out my national number 20 years ago as part of a leadership training program. I decided I had blown my life up in my late 30s. Nothing was going the way it was supposed to. They had promised certain things, and I wasn't getting any of those things. I had married a drug addict, alcoholic abuser, and didn't really even know I'd done that. And so I was coming out of that. I started using the tools available around Al-Anon and therapy and all the sort of classic tools that were more available. But it still didn't resonate through. I didn't understand how it had happened to me. So as part of that search, I started becoming a life coach. And at this program that Coach Training was on, I found out my national number 6, and everything dropped into place. Because I was able to now understand who I was at a physiological level. And everything that I knew about me started to make sense. I'd always known, I talked about earlier, was 10 years old, I had my first sense of I have a calling and I have a purpose and I have something I have to do here in this world. It isn't going to be easy, but it's going to be important. When I found this, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And so I have not wavered off that since I found out, ever, in 20 years, which is pretty incredible, given I like to have a lot of things to do and a lot of things to learn. So that started my journey. I studied with the people who made the first observations at this work for 9 years, learned everything they needed to that they knew. They started to go in a different direction that I wasn't comfortable with. So Martin and I went off to Burning Man and decided to offer this as the gift. And when you go to Burning Man, it's a festival in the desert, in the Mojave Desert, and it's a gift economy, and everybody just gives whatever they want to give to other people, and it's a beautiful experience to just be there giving. And this was the gift we offered. Our first year, we identified 56 people, and I was over the moon. It was just amazing because I bonded with these people. I'm still in touch with those 56 people. I know where more than half of them are. And each year we went back, we realized that California community was, that was a very international community, actually. Was a place where we could really do the research into the physical manifestation of natural numbers. Up until that point, they were defined as points. We didn't know much about them. We knew you could activate them. We didn't know how. We didn't know how to teach how to identify other people. I had just learned to activate all 9 energies in my body before we went. And so I was just doing all 9 energies with people and seeing where the match came in the beginning. But through the 8,000 plus people we worked with over the that was 2012. From 2012 to today, we working with people all over the world. With the pandemic, we had to learn how to do it online. That was opened a huge window for us because I can do anybody, anywhere, anytime. So that's pretty cool. So we just continued to develop the work. We did about 9 years of research. And then we wrote our 2 books, The Body of 9, Decode Your Physiology, and The Body of 9 Practices for Presence, both of which describe different aspects of how you use this and what it's about. We events here in Bozeman. We have a practicing partner program, and we have our online events. So our goal is just to get this out in the world as widely as possible.
Yes. What is it about you? Like, what are your strengths that you have brought to this process that is helping move it all forward? Sometimes it's hard to look at this this massive goal, right? This is a big picture, right? And to say that I have to work at it and I have to go one step at a time. So what are your strengths, Susan, that have been able to continue helping to move this forward?
Resilience. I can fail and pick myself up, and I do that almost daily. I just go at something, try it, learn from it, pick myself back up. So I have tremendous resilience, and that's been one of the big things that's carried. Also, a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a big commitment for the importance of this. I see it change life after life after life. I see it bring happiness and harmony to families. I see it bring people out of depression and back into presence. I see it have positive impact after positive impact. I've never seen it hurt anybody in any way.
Right.
And the fact that there are 9 physiologically different kinds of people and the world doesn't know this, practically criminal.
Yeah.
And it is really frustrating and really hard because a lot of times people don't care even after they find out. And I just have to let that go and say that's okay. They're not ready for what's coming next for them. They need to get to that place because it starts to act on you whether you do anything with it or not. But if you actively work with this and actually explore it and understand it, all of a sudden your life transforms to a place of happiness and connectedness.
Right, that level of understanding that you give to people that they can better understand themselves, right? It seems that maybe we release judgment when we better understand ourselves, and probably also judgment that we might reflect onto somebody else. If we can have a better understanding of ourselves, we often are more patient with our judgments towards other people too, and offer them a greater level of understanding.
That's right. When we're empathic, like if I know that you're different, if I know you need eye contact, which you do, I'm like looking straight into the camera for you. It's really hard for me not to look down here at you, but I know for you, I look at the camera because that makes you feel like I'm looking at you. And it's, just knowing those little differences in how we interact in life. And to support. Also, each one of them offers a tremendous gift and a gift that you yourself don't have. And when we bring the 9 together, it creates this wholeness. That all you need, Tanya, is one more baby, and you've got the whole in your family.
We have all 9.
You have all 9. I know. You're so close. You may be done, but
well,
and that brings up the fact that you have to remember it doesn't repeat in family, which means if you have 7 children, you're not going to have a repeat in the family, which is pretty wild.
It is pretty wild. Now, on the note of family, though, how has this? I mean, you have 3 adult children, right?
Yep.
Yeah. How has this?
When children, when it's your thing, I get a lot of resistance. But over the years, my kids, they send all their friends to get identified. They talk about it amongst their friends. They use it on a daily basis in their lives. They haven't known life without knowing their natural number, just like your kids really haven't known life without knowing their natural number. So we don't know what these things are going to turn out like. You were telling me the story about how your 6-year-old daughter picked up the book and started reading about being a natural number 6 and felt completely validated at 10, right? That's how old she is? Yeah. I mean, our 10-year-old daughter who's a 6. That's right. And this is so fundamentally validating for people that, like I said, it just launches you on the path that you were meant to be on.
Right. Which is so beautiful because each of us has such a wonderful and individualized purpose, right? So a lot of that is in defining what our purpose is and knowing, maybe having the confidence to step forward in it and say, okay, well, this is what needs to happen. So tell me, I mean, I know there are so many challenges in being an entrepreneur and running your own business, right? And one of them is just the basic structure of how you go about your day, right? How do you decide to not stay in your pajamas until 5 o'clock? I have
Yeah, I
my
haven't
day.
actually washed my hair today, Tanya.
Well, I washed mine yesterday. Does that count?
Well, ponytails go a long way in the world of Zoom.
What does your structure look like to be able to accomplish all that has to get done to continue the forward momentum each day?
Well, there's a certain amount of routine, and then there's a certain amount of ebb and flow, and there's a certain amount of responding to what's alive, and then there's a certain amount of just taking another step, even if you don't really know what step to take. And so I have the things I do every day. I get up in the morning, I have 1 cup of coffee, I sit with my husband and I knit. I think about my day as I'm knitting, and then it brings my motivation up, and I come in and I sit at my computer and I work really hard at the computer till maybe 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I make all the connections. I do all the social media marketing. I do my interviews. I hold my meetings, and then I try to actually leave my afternoons open so that whatever, if it just means I go back to the couch and knit some more, that's what I probably end up doing most days because I'm just done after a certain period of time. Uh, and so giving myself that downtime so I can rejuvenate is really another important part of me being effective. Also learning to ask for help. We've created a partner program, and now I'm asking my partners to help. This morning was hard for me to say, but I asked everybody in our partner meeting, can you all each refer one person to get their natural number identified? Because everybody knows thousands of people. Just one. That's all I need you to send me. One for this time, this date. Go find somebody. And so maybe we'll get that event on November 10th full. That's the goal. And I won't have to do it because they will have done it for me. We'll see. And people don't always do what you ask them to do, and there's no requirement for anybody to do it. But if you don't ask, it's not going to happen. And so that's an important thing, a lesson I had to learn. I don't have to do it all myself. And also, walking my talk around integrating all 9 voices, all 9 natural numbers, all 9 gifts, remembering that they're all incredibly important and bringing them all in.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point because and you're so well aware of the various strengths of different natural numbers, and so knowing who could possibly potentially best fill in a place in a certain way, and yet the other person still has to be receptive. It'd be much easier if you could just say, okay, you do this, and you do this, and you do
and
this.
And they would just do it.
Right. And they're all juggling, their parents, their spouses, they're all juggling their lives too. And
right. And this isn't as important to them as it is to me. That's
right.
But I think that the commitment and the deep belief that this actually is as important to them as it is to me is what carries me. Even if you don't know or believe or agree with me, doesn't matter. I know that when I give this to you, when this happens, that you find out about yourself, everything starts to change for you. Whether and that's the thing that I also fires me. Having that deep connection and commitment. And each person I get to be with it's so beautiful. People are so beautiful at this level.
Yeah. It's really true.
Yeah.
Do you have any of your own personal items that you have had to notably put on the back burner while this is your baby that you're pursuing and growing and educating people? Is there for you personally things that you've had to say that I'm going to do that, but it might be 5 years, might be 10 years from now?
Well, the big struggle for me in the early years, especially, was I have 3 daughters, and they were young when I started this work. And there were times where I had to choose between being with them or going to study this. And those were very hard decisions. But and I think some of my daughters are a little angry at me for choosing to go study this work versus staying with them. And part of me has some regrets about it, and part of me doesn't. Part of me knows I had to do this. I had no choice at some level. So the depth of that commitment was often at odds with my care for my children. because I was a single mom and things really were shitty. But it is also through this work that we got out of that hole that we were in. And it's part of their development of their own resilience and their ability to get themselves out of their own holes as well. And so ultimately, I think I've done all the right things, or at least the best things I could at the time. But there was a toll there.
Yeah. And those are challenging, and yet, each of our own personal experiences and their experiences too have been benefited by the choices that we make on an everyday basis, right? They become an integral part of who we are and how we function and how we move forward. And whether we look at choices as we made, whether we can discern, oh, I think that was a bad idea, or I think this was a good idea, right? They're a part of who we are.
20/20 hindsight.
Yeah, they're a part of who we are, period. And right, without each experience, positive, negative, or otherwise, we would be different people. So to say that,
going back to the 6 decades, every decade has been a different part of a road, a different direction, a different. Today, I don't feel like I sacrifice much because I love to do this work. Like I said, I love to stand in front of people and identify their natural number. I love to teach people how to do it. I love to teach people to see this out in the world. And it gives me a great sense of satisfaction and purpose. And that's extraordinarily valuable. It's far more valuable than having a vacation to Hawaii. Those are the kinds of things that Martin and I put all of our life investment of our energy and our time and our money into getting this out to the world. And we're totally okay with that. But, I haven't had a vacation in 5 years. So.
Right.
But that's okay. There's no story that I have to have a vacation. And we're going to take one next year. We're our 15th anniversary.
Are you coming to France?
Well, we might come to France anyway, just for work. That's more likely.
I love that.
Martin is British, so we do try to get to England, and Paris is just a little jump away. So
a little skip away, yeah.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah. Well, I would love that. So what do you do to stay? I mean, what you do it requires a huge emotional investment and awareness. What do you do to keep yourself grounded, to prevent from becoming, emotionally drained, exhausted? Do you have a regular practice that you incorporate to be able to stay present and to keep the momentum moving forward?
Well, when I'm working and teaching, deactivating the energies in my body is constantly happening. And I also, if I've done a 2-hour identification session with 10 or 12 people, I might not have actually gone through all of the natural numbers with them. If I didn't do one, I always do it on my own to complete that cycle of having activated all 9 in the body. There's something to that I find. I constantly expand my chest to bring myself more present. The beautiful part about when you're identifying a person's natural number is you don't see any of their stuff. You just see their beauty and their wholeness. And so I know people at their beauty and their wholeness. I don't know their stuff. I learn their stuff later. But to me, you're always that beautiful soul that stood in front of me, and we connected in the most profound way. The gift of two offers, the gift of connection. And we've been connected since that day.
Yeah.
Because you hold that connection. It's so beautiful. So I don't get drained by emotionally. I'll get tired. I get physically tired because we did a 2-hour event on Saturday. We're going to go up to Helena and do a whole day. But I've got a team now that's also helping me out. So I'm not carrying the whole burden, and that's another really important part about this is finding out, who's called to help you and who's called to join you on whatever your purposeful journey is. Because when we don't do things alone, it's way easier. And so that's the other way I keep coping by asking for help and receiving the help.
Right. So another question is, I am personally a huge believer in the ability of literature to inspire us, to motivate us, to influence us, educate us. I mean, outside of your own writings, which I'm sure you wouldn't say are, the epitome of, right?
They're the best I could do anyway.
Do you have something personally that you have, an influential piece of literature, book, something that speaks to you, or something that's truly your comfort where you go?
Well, when I was a teenager, I loved to read, and I love long historical novels. So I read Bleak House. I read Anna Karenina. I read War and Peace. And I learned from those stories that essentially we as humans don't have any choice but to repeat.
Mm.
And we can learn a lot more from each other than we let ourselves. And I think I learned that from Tolstoy. It's like, oh yeah, you can do the same mistakes over and over again if you'd like, or you can do the same mistakes as that other person is doing. But you can also say, oh well, you can learn from literature. You can say, oh my God, Anna Karenina, she pushed this person away. Why did she do that? It's like, no, don't do it, right? And so learning from our history and from what has happened is to me a very important part of saving time. You only get one life, right now anyway, and right, why waste it? If somebody says don't push people away, listen to that message. Don't push people away unnecessarily. But there's another message, which is, make sure they're safe. Yeah, all these things, so we can learn these things. Um, and But I think that one of the biggest. I don't think I. Where did I learn this lesson from? Uh, you don't have to believe everything that you think.
Mm.
So much of other people's stuff comes into us, and oftentimes we'll hear something when we're 10 years old, and we'll internalize it, especially if it kind of triggers our natural number in some way, either positively or negatively. And then that message, somebody doesn't even know they've said it, but years later, it's still driving you. So the piece here is like being consciously at choice. And that's what I love also about Body of Nine is it gives you the ability to observe what am I doing, what is happening, what is going on in the situation without your shaming voices or whatever your voices are. And then to say, oh, what's the underlying belief that's causing this response in my body?
Mm-hmm.
And then, do I want that belief?
Right.
There's all of us women are taught very young that our appearance is related to our value, the inherent message in the world. And if there's something wrong with your appearance, there's something wrong with your value.
Mm.
And as an older woman, as you age, and you pass your childbirth, now you've gone into having absolutely no value at all if you're not careful. And it's a time in your life when you actually have more value than ever because you now have achieved a time of wisdom and a time of integration and a time of where you can support people in a way that you couldn't when you were younger. So
yeah.
So learning to not allow those voices from our nurture to overlay the beauty of our nature. And that's to me the freedom that comes with Body of Nine is knowing, okay, here's my nature. It's always there for me. It's where I'm whole. It's where I'm perfect. And it's my great strength. The gift I offer to you as a human. And then there's all this crap. I got a lot of messages about being too loud, too fast, and too smart. And that none of those things were okay. Now, I honor the fact that I can be loud, fast, and smart when I want to be.
Right.
Why not?
My 10-year-old is a 6. Yeah.
Sometimes she just needs to be loud, fast, and smart. As she pointed out, sometimes she doesn't know and it's not ready to go yet.
Yeah.
And just understanding how people function is so useful.
Yeah. Oh, and that's so beautiful. I love the way you said that. Could you say that quote one more time? The you don't have to believe.
Everything you think.
That is so true and so beautiful.
It's so simple and so hard.
And so simple and so profound, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, one of the
Um,
things I see that's kind of interesting is the head numbers. So 1 and 7 and 5, their trigger and their place where they struggle the most is with shame. In the chest, which is 3 and 6, and then 9 on the spine, it's fear. And then 2 and 4 and 8, the body ones, the even numbers, it's disappointment. And
yeah.
as you learn your next number, you start to think about that. It's like, oh yeah, absolutely, I get disappointed. Twos get disappointed in how people don't show up. They get disappointed in wanting to create something. They want to create this felt sense, and they work really hard to create it, and then it doesn't happen because other things come in, and then messes things up. And then the two's like, oh damn it. Excuse my language. So
Uh,
it's just so helpful to know.
it is so helpful to know.
Yeah.
And that is a two. If you're gonna make a box to say this is where two fits, that's it.
Well, we like to say that finding your natural number actually lets you get out of your box
It does. It's yes, absolutely.
into the wholeness of you.
Yes. It's very true. But if I were to summarize the essence of the two-ness, you hit the nail on the
Yeah,
head right
yeah,
there.
no. Well,
Show up.
there's some very fundamental, very consistent attributes for each of the natural numbers. So
Mhm.
it's how I can describe you, Tanya, without having, when I first met you, I could describe you, even though I didn't yet know you, but I know you in a way that most people don't know because I understand the depth and the consistency of natural number two.
Right. Show up, be present, be genuine. Yes.
Yes. Engage because it's fun. We don't really need a reason. We don't need a
Susan, so
reason to
many years
engage.
ago. Yeah, so many years ago, you told me that twos rely on eye contact, and I thought, no, I don't think that they do. And then I realized that most of my interacting at that point in life was with my four oldest, who are a five, a seven, a nine, and a six, right? None of which require consistent eye contact. So
In
I was
fact, it might confuse them.
right. So I
Right.
was very used to being able to communicate without eye contact. But for me, when I am trying to perceive something, I find that I do have to stare at the person. It's hard on a phone conversation because it requires so much of my attention to truly comprehend what they're saying and what they're getting across. Where a video, I have a greater connection because I can see you and I better understand the words that you're saying because I see the presence of you.
Yes. And there's something your eyes do, which is they invite me into connection with you. So twos have a neutral face to start, and then as soon as I show up and I'm willing, okay, all right, Tanya, let's just be together because it's really cool. It's the best thing we could be, and that's really all you want from people is them to show up, engage, and be there. And that's a
Hmm.
beautiful thing because you invite us to be in our fullness, just how we are right now, and it's a really important function that we get from you guys that are there no matter what we do.
Right. I have a friend that I am thoroughly convinced she is a one. And for years, if we're having a conversation and if my eye contact strayed, she would physically reposition herself to be right in my line of vision. And used to communicating with my four children that required no eye contact, I thought, oh, oh, are you trying to look in my soul? What are you doing?
What are you doing? Well, the fact is, she is trying to connect at the level of your soul. She's trying to help your soul feel that the value that it has, and that you being seen and connected with and understood at a deep, deep, deep level. And and unless you give her that eye contact, you're not going to get the gift she's offering.
It's absolutely true. And she is a very dear friend to this day. So, but as soon as you described the one to me, so many years ago, I thought, I know that person. I know her.
Yep. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the ones that actually build a certain kind of connection with the eyes. And whereas 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, we use our eyes, but we look and we scan and we take in information. We don't know how to use our eyes to create engagement. I've learned, so I sit up and push my upper abs out and just use my eyes to engage with you.
Thank you for being here for me, Susan.
It's a pleasure, Tanya. It really is. It really
So
is.
I have, I don't know, one or two final questions. One is, so to the individual who's saying, I've heard the calling, I know what my purpose is, but I don't have it's hard, right? For you, it was clear and obvious, you said. But what advice would you give to somebody, 10, 20 years ago that's walking that brink of, I don't know, it's easier to settle back into my comfort than it is to put myself out there and do this thing, even though it's fulfilling?
That's a really good question. I think you need to balance both. I think you need to give yourself permission to drop into your comfort, because your comfort really is where everything is easy. If you feel into a big sense of purpose, your skill, your gifts will carry you. And your comfort is where, if it's not comfortable and it's not easy, you're working too hard. And that's always, it's like if I feel like I'm rolling a boulder up a hill, sometimes I'll just put the boulder there and go away for a while. And then I might come back to the boulder, or I might, it might have rolled all the way back down to the bottom of the hill, and then I might leave it there and try another boulder. But that's the way this is. That's the way life is. So it's really about, and that's one of the things as a six I teach, which is it alive? Is it alive for you to do this? Is this the right thing for you to do in this moment? Does it have significance? Does it matter to you? And that's one of the roles I play as a six, is helping people to feel into that. Yes, what I'm doing really matters. Yes, I mean, for you going to Paris with your whole family, it was alive because it really mattered to your daughters. So it really mattered to the family. And so you guys all got behind those two beautiful women almost and made something magical happen. And everybody is growing for that experience, even though 4 or 5 of you came along for the ride, right?
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, the story of life, right?
Yeah. And sometimes you do that. Sometimes you line up behind one person, and other times that they line up behind you. And if you're lucky, you've got, your family is astounding the way you all line up behind each other all the time. And that is such a powerful thing to have, because you're never alone. Now, there's the other side of never being alone.
Right. But we've created a safety net with each other, right? If you're gonna slip and fall, I'll be there. I might sit in the mud with you, but I'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Do you have any parting words? This has been such an honor, Susan, to have this time with you. It really has.
Likewise, Tanya. I've loved you since I met you.
The feeling is mutual. It really
Thank
is.
you.
And that's been, I don't know, that's been 9 years ago? 8 years ago?
It might be 8, because it was right after we moved here. So yeah, it was probably 2015. Yeah.
When you approached me and said,
8 years ago. Yeah.
Yes, you want to know your superpower? Yes, I do. Please help me define it.
Yes, and you brought your 3 beautiful kids, and they were just little kids. Your 3 oldest didn't even have your 4th yet. Is that right?
No, I think she was itty bitty then. Yep, because if it was 8 years ago, she was 2.
2. Yeah. But I don't think you brought her that first night. I think you left her home.
Think I did.
Yeah, we got her later, just watching her run around. I thought it was so serendipitous about you and I just kept running into each other. I don't run into a lot of people, but you I run into all the time. And here we are on Zoom again, running into each other.
It's true. And 8 years later, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. And
Well,
that's also the power of being a two, Tanya, is your ability to keep connection with people and reestablish it so instantaneously. So it doesn't matter if it's been 6, 8 months. It's just like, oh, we just pick up where we are now. And it's a beautiful impact that twos have as well. So I honor you for that. Your questions are beautiful and they make me feel seen and honored in this process as well. So that, it's like, it's always really important to me to feel like my wisdom gets shared. And I thank you for that forum.
yeah, well, you have so much to offer. Just the knowledge, like I said, it's liberating. It's liberating for me to see my 10-year-old sit down and pick up the book herself and say, "Hey, Mom, did you know this about me? Actually, I read that, and now that you're pointing it out to me, I see that. I comprehend now." And each of my children uses that knowledge. I mean, after she sat down and was reading it herself last night, she pointed out about my youngest, the 8. She's like, I see why he wants to be comfortable, why he's apprehensive to try things. Yeah, yeah, it's part of his 8-ness.
Yes,
So
very much so.
our latest challenge is, can we define somebody's number by watching them dance?
Yes, you can. You can absolutely do that. Yeah.
We were watching John Travolta do a little Saturday Night Fever. We were trying to figure it out.
And what'd you think?
I don't know. I toyed with the idea of an 8, but I wasn't sure.
It turns out he's a 6. So watch again and watch the chest movement.
Yep. Well, that's what Kate said. He's all torso, arms, and then lower legs.
All around here. The low body moves in response to the chest moving, whereas 8 rocks on the sacrum. And they don't move as much.
Yep.
Much more downward movement, and they don't move as much.
Yeah. Yep. Jude's like planted with his rear end. It stays in one spot, and then he's got arms doing this.
Yeah, and they rock on that sacrum. They'll rock. They rock pretty straight, rocking. It's really, really fun. We have a YouTube channel, Tanya, that has playlists by natural number. So if you and the kids want to play around with that, you could pull the video up. Don't tell them which one it is. You can make a game out of it, and then have them identify the person and talk about the movement. So you can teach them, and they will learn to see this so fast that because they're so young and they've been exposed to this. So that's a fun game.
That sounds wonderful. We will. When we were in DC, we met a lady at a park, and it was so funny. We left, and 3 of my kids said, "She's a 4." Yep.
Well, my friends right away. She probably is, right? Beautiful. I love that. I love to hear those kind of stories that people are perpetuating their awareness of it out in the world.
We're walking down the street.
Easier.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, not that you're trying to place a label on somebody, but an avenue for a better understanding.
Yes.
Of where that person is approaching you from, and it really is it's liberating to be able to validate somebody else in that way, to say, hey, I understand where you're coming from, or at least be able to acknowledge it or meet them where they're at.
Right. And 8 out of 9 times they're different than you. If you just know that, that's a good starting place, right? You don't even need to know your natural number to know that 8 out of 9 people you run into are going to be different. So different. So different that you cannot know why they did something ever.
Right. And that in and of itself says keep the judgment at bay. Right.
Exactly. Be curious. Yeah. Curiosity, wonder, and awe. That's what we can leave with this. Those are the 3 most powerful skills that you can implement in dealing with people. Be curious, wonder at them, and be in awe of what they're offering.
That's so beautiful. Be curious, wonder, and awe. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm taking those words with me too.
Great.
Well, Susan, again, thank you so much. You can find Susan and the entire Body of 9 at bodyof9.com. You can find her book, The Body of 9, or both of us were co-authors in contributing to Raising Wild Ones, which is available on inspiredphotoart.com or bodyof9.com. Oh, a
There are
new
two more
one?
books. There's Sacred Redesign, which is about people redesigning their lives, understanding their natural number, and then Practices for Presence as well. And you can't see that because it's reversed, but they're all on Amazon. Just look for Susan Bennett
Oh,
Fisher, and you'll find all the books, including
wonderful.
Raising Wild Ones.
Yes, including Raising Wild Ones. Well, thank you so much, Susan. I really appreciate your time.